So e-commerce companies are now the big warehouse takers for 2020. The rest of them are kind of quiet. In 2021 or post-COVID, now what I see, as I said is, I've said it in multiple places, 2021 mid to 2021 end, assuming, in a normal case scenario that we do have some medical interventions with COVID, I think warehousing sector will probably be better than 2019. Just to kind of, lay it out, there's pre-COVID, COVID, and post-COVID in terms of warehousing. And I'm going to talk a little bit about pre-COVID because I think the world is just now split in that way. But generally, warehousing in India started really, 5-6 years ago, or maybe 7, when a couple of big funds, developers, or funds with developers came in and started promoting the concept of grade A parks in India, right? And what a grade A park means is basically a good quality, clean, hygienic building, good quality floors, something like what you would see in the office space, just trying to keep it very simple, which was very different from the go downs that you recently mentioned. And then very quickly, once customers such as Amazon, DHL, Flipkart started experiencing those spaces, they realized the benefits of being in such spaces. They're clean, they're hygienic to work in, they're high quality, the floor doesn't sink during the monsoons, it doesn't rain and damage your materials. At the same time, because it's secured, complex, there's less pilferage and theft happening. So, if you're shipping iPhones and expensive goods, they're not getting stolen as much. Workers are getting a better, environment and safer environment to work in. And most importantly, the throughput of turnaround time from goods in to goods out inside a warehouse was much quicker, right? So when customers started experiencing that, oh, wow, this is possible in India, customers wanted more of that. And that obviously, demand follows supply in a way. More developers started pouring in. But still India faced a challenge where we were very divided in our tax regime. We did not have the ability to have one country, one tax. And GST kind of changed all of that, which was somewhere around July 2017 is when GST came into play. That is when I would say really when warehousing started, right? I mean, that's like 3 years ago, right? And that's when the game changed, because what that did to warehousing was you no longer needed to have go downs, state level boundaries to do stock transfers between goods from one location to the other location. You could now kind of have a really big warehouse to suit your ideal logistical needs. So, the warehouse size, so when I was leasing warehouses back in 2015 or 2014, we used to have 100,000 square feet, 50,000 square feet, 75,000 square feet demand. But in 2017, 2018, 2019, they just keep getting bigger and bigger, right? So now suddenly you're seeing a minimum size, SKU size of 250,000 square feet, 300,000, 500,000 square feet. The e-commerce giants in India are talking about fulfillment centers, which are no longer even warehouses. I mean, they are probably, a mix of storage, processing, packing, unpacking. So there's a lot of activity happening there, right? So if you've seen that growth up to COVID, I'm talking about up to 2020 Feb, March is when the world changed. You saw a lot of growth already happening, right? You saw a lot of, and then if you top up all of that with the growth of e-commerce, when buyers started realizing the convenience of shopping online, where you no longer needed to go to a mall or a store to buy things, you could just go onto your computer window and shop. That kind of accelerated that story of convenience. Now, the minute that happened, customers such as Amazon, Flipkart, DHL needed to ship out. The throughput requirement even went faster with, next day delivery, same day delivery. So worldwide, you started seeing, same day delivery happening. And I think that kind of added a lot of pressure to warehousing developers saying, okay, now we need to build larger spaces and we need to build them faster and even better quality. And we need more capital for that. And then suddenly from 2017, you started seeing investments in warehousing, foreign investments going up very, very quickly. So, 2015, we invested somewhere around $125 million a sector. And 2019, you invested somewhere around $1.8 billion a sector, right? Foreign capital, institutionally spent. So this was already happening. This sector was already immune from NPAs. There were no NPAs like residential. There was no bad debts, right? There were good quality developers like, my friends on this panel, like ESR, etc. The sector already had a high demand, so they did not have a problem with which residential faces, where there's enough supply, but there are not enough buyers sometimes, right? So all the problems that a resi sector or sometimes any office sector were facing, this sector has been insulated from that. Secondly, it's a very B2B sector, right? If you have a 100-acre park, you have 15 buildings. So for example, our park in Bombay is 100 acres, 15 buildings. You have 15 customers. In an office park, you'd have multiple customers. So there are a lot of advantages that were already working for the sector. Now, coming to the last part, I don't want to take up too much time, but what's happened during COVID, obviously, like every other sector, the sector has kind of felt a slowdown in terms of demand decisions. And I would say that's less of a slowdown, it's more of a demand decision deferment. Because actually, COVID has accelerated the online buying behavior, right? COVID has kind of further pushed that story. All the makings of GST implementation, Make in India policy, that was all already happening. What COVID basically did is kind of put a speed button on that. But having said that, customers are still not making decisions fast enough because honestly, they're not able to plan because everything is so uncertain. Whether to take up a space, not to take up a space, they're not able to decide that. So that demand deferment is happening in terms of, so you're seeing the number of leases fall in 2020, but at the same time, you're seeing significant rent collection. At the same time, you're seeing Amazon and Flipkart launch 8 distribution centers each across. Recently, this morning I saw news about Snapdeal doing that. So e-commerce companies are now the big warehouse takers for 2020. The rest of them are kind of quiet. In 2021 or post-COVID, now what I see, as I said is, I've said it in multiple places, 2021 mid to 2021 end, assuming, in a normal case scenario that we do have some medical interventions with COVID, I think warehousing sector will probably be better than 2019, right? Because that's probably the only sector in real estate which is heavily insulated from all the downside that are facing. So that's just my gist of the whole thing on terms of stimulants and prospects.